What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tournament Tactics Special Thanksgiving Day edition. We're going to break down the 3-game slate. We love this slate. This is my favorite slate of the year, I think. So we're going to break down this 3-gamer. Everybody's going to be watching. We got the Shark Lab with us here. We got Bobby Millions down below. The whole crew together. Listen, it's not that easy to get the crew together for Thanksgiving. Everybody's traveling, doing stuff. Wife's at the supermarket picking up the Prego and the canned cranberry sauce. So we broke out a little bit here, and we have a little time to break it down. Guys, have you had a chance to really kind of think through this slate at all? Like, Burns, what are your opening thoughts about this 3-game slate that we have going on this week? Packers, Lions, Washington, Dallas, San Francisco, Seattle.
I'm not nearly as prepared as I am for our big main slates. It's caught up. This one went really fast. Like, this week has gone really fast. I mean, we're already in Wednesday, so we'll get through it. But there's just some things that we need to do in preparation, like with the domination station. We have some new. You can't just use the regular settings. You have to add a couple of things in there. So
I did back test 3-game slates heavily. I've actually posted that video in the in my channel, the DFS Army Discord, for just 3-game slate back testing. Just take a look at kind of what happens historically. BobbyWow.
Wow.
This is an interesting one because all 3 games have very heavy favorites in them, right? And all 3 games feature really good defenses, which makes it interesting. It makes it an interesting slate. So take a look at this here. We've got, Detroit, who have been one of the better defenses, really good in particular, just across the board. They've been a solid defense this year, taking on at home against the Packers. Dallas, we know what they do. They're defensively, again, one of the best defenses, and probably, a defense maybe to pay out for. Massive favorites against Washington. And then Seattle, massive underdogs at home against the 49ers for the late one. Doesn't really line up as a game stacks situation for me at all.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think what's interesting to me is that each of these defenses is good, but they each have their vulnerability, right? Like San Francisco, for example, great defense overall, but they've had some vulnerability in the passing game. Cowboys on the other side of things, they've had some issues against the run at times. So definitely interesting, definitely solid defenses, but some ways to attack it too. So it's going to be exciting.
I want to bring up the power ranking sheet and look at some of these defenses specifically. And what the sheet tells us, and this is available on Sharp app, but what the sheet tells us, a little bit of what these teams have been doing defensively this year, and just to understand which side has been attackable. So let's just go through some of these real quick. And I'm more interested in the good teams than the bad teams defensively for this slate. Although the bad ones are interesting as well. But San Francisco, take a look here. So they're allowing 25 or almost 26 fewer rushing yards per game than average to opposing teams. So tough to run on San Francisco. And, I think Seattle's going to oblige there with Kenny Walker being probably out and Charbonnet being the guy, although Charbonnet catches a pass and he will be in the mix. But you could throw a little bit on San Francisco. That's probably more of a reaction to the fact that it's been tough to run against them. But also San Francisco has recently added some defensive pieces that are probably affecting those numbers. Take a look at Detroit here. Again, this is the power ranking sheet available on the Sharp app. So in this sheet, in this one here, we see Detroit is very interesting. Again, very good against the run and a little bit more vulnerable to the pass. So they're allowing 25 fewer rushing yards per game than average, and almost identical to San Francisco, BobbyWow.
Yeah, very similar.
So if we look at that matchup, I think Jones is out anyway for this game. So it's really just an A.J. Dillon situation. Doesn't look good for him. This doesn't set up well for Dillon at all. Not that he was good at all. I'm rocking the Packers swag tonight. but I don't have a lot of faith in them.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things though too, where on a slate like this, you want to attack the volume too. So AJ Dillon, not a great matchup, but also when you consider volume at the price, and we'll see this later when we build, you might want to reconsider in some ways. So that's the other part of the equation.
I'm not out on anybody on a 3-game slate. Pay down, pay up. There's all different ways to approach it. Every pro has a con, but I think it's interesting that Detroit is more attackable via the pass. So maybe those Turdley secondary wide receivers for the Packers come into a little more interest maybe than going for that backup running back situation.
Yep.
Third defense, Dallas, right? So let's find Dallas here. They're all good. I mean, look, by the way, all three of these teams, Detroit, San Francisco, Dallas, they're all top 10 teams in the league, all Super Bowl contenders. Like, these are serious contender teams, and they're all taking on what I would call non-contenders, right? So in the case of Dallas, defensively, they're actually better against the pass than the rush this year. So this is the flip, allowing 35 fewer passing yards per game, below mean expectations or below what that team does on average. But really just neutral against running backs. So a little different setup for this Dallas game, where maybe, it's funny. We like the passing game of Washington and those running backs, but maybe it's, and those wide receivers, but maybe it's a running back, maybe preference game. I normally don't like underdog running backs though, guys. I like favored running backs if I can have one. If I'm given my druthers.
Wait, hold on. What? Given your what?
I'm given my druthers. My druthers.
What the heck is that?
I don't know. I don't know what that word means. I said it. I didn't think I would get called out on it. Put me on the spot.
No, he's like Will Ferrell. No one knows what it means. It's provocative.
I have no idea what that word means. But if I had my druthers for real, I think it's the running back or favored running backs, but I don't know what that word means. Okay, so anyway, that's the basic setup, guys, for this one, and from there we got to try to figure out where to go with this crazy slate. Apparently, somebody does know what that word means, and thank you AW11 for your knowledge.
There we go.
That was awesome. Real quick, guys, I want to mention a couple things. So we're going into the Thanksgiving slate, and once again, Black Friday's coming up on Friday. So DFS Army, we're running some Black Friday stuff that I think people want to know about. So before we get into the nitty gritty of this and we go position by position, give it a little Black Friday info here. Number one, let's see here if I can find it. Those are just wins. Oh, here we go. Running the Black Friday special. I put a link in the description with the promo code, but if you're not a DFS Army current subscriber, this is for non-subscribers. You want to check it out. It's 50% off VIP, promo code BF2023. VIP covers everything we do, all the way out to Sleeper, Prize Picks, the Proptimizer tool, the Optimizer, our chat, all of that stuff. Everything we do, every sport is covered. There is nothing left out of VIP. It means you're a very important person. That's what VIP means. Very important people. So you get 50% off, promo code 2023. So if you've been thinking about, hey, let me check out the DFS Army, this is a great time. This is going to run through Sunday. So, Black Friday, Cyber Sunday, or whatever the hell that is. So BF 2023, if you want to get signed up for DFS Army. The other thing we're doing right now, guys, and you'll like this, is another thing, like we just launched the Proptimizer tool that covers now Sleeper as well. We added Sleeper to it. And Sleeper is awesome because it's basically, I'm not supposed to say it's a sports book. It's not, but it's the same. Just you have to do parlays. So you're basically just playing props. There's no really need, like the numbers are pretty close to what you'd see on a sports book for those props. And you just have to do a parlay of them. So 2 or 3 of them, we have a tool for it. And to celebrate it, because everybody has a Sleeper account already, but most people don't play the Pick'em game yet. So if you go to your Sleeper account, you just sign up for the Pick'em game and you put in code DFS Army. If you're a current subscriber to DFS Army, so if you're one of our members, we're sending you DFS Army t-shirt swag. You got to let us know. Shirt is fire. You want this, right? Fucking comfortable. Can't be bought. You cannot purchase these. You can only earn one. And that's how you get it. So I've got a link in the description below as well. You sign up at Sleeper, make $100 deposit. They match it for $100, and we send you the t-shirt. You just got to send us a screenshot of your sign up with the code DFS Army, double the match. They send you a t-shirt. If you're not signed up at DFS Army currently, you can also get a free month of VIP by signing up for Sleeper, doing the deposit, promo code DFS Army, and let us know. So to get all that out of the way, we got a lot of good promotions going for the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday and all that good stuff. So you don't have to run out. BobbyWow, you don't got to wait online at Target at 6 a.m. Do you guys do Black Friday?
No.
None of you? You're not at the Walmart?
No.
Fighting the crowds? Little $50 discount on that TV you've been wanting?
That's it? $50 on Black Friday?
People murder over a $50 discount on Black Friday. You can't even believe it.
You can open a Best Buy credit card to get that.
You got the tricks.
There you go. Hacks. The life hacks with Burns.
There it is, guys. Just get the and Kang knows. By the way, Kang, as a multi-time swag winner, you should know that I recently added hoodies to the swag mix, and it's going to be for multi-timers. Instead of sending you another t-shirt and hat that you got 3 of already, we got hoodies going. So those haven't shown up yet, but I'm excited to get my first hoodie.
That I might do Black Friday for. If I can find that somewhere, maybe.
Yeah, worth it. Win a tournament.
There we go.
I think you're getting one sent to you. I'm just saying. You might get one just as a gift. Both of you guys may get one. All right, so let's talk about this slate. Yeah, Thanksgiving. Bobby, 3 more days and then we can display it.
Okay, sorry.
3 more days. All right, so let's talk about the QB position. And I've got the domination station loaded up. You can't find. I love this. By the way, this is real, and we did get a lot of 3. Everybody's 3x. It's the amount of triple 3x sizes we have to order. It's amazing. But we got the big guys, man. That's fucking my army people. So, all right, let's get into this. Let's get into this breakdown, guys. 3-game slate. And the first thing I'm noticing, I've got the quarterback position loaded up by ownership. And of course, it's your 3 favored QBs, Dak, Brock, and Goff, with Howell, Smith, and Jordan Love coming in at the lower end of the spectrum. But one thing I'm noticing here is, like, if you look at the ownerships on screen, it's not that different. Like, they're all pretty, there's no real chalk has formulated as of this second. Do you guys think this is going to hold? Do you think this will be a slate where people just mix it up like this? BobbyWow, I'll start with you. Like, do you think, it's only going to be 25? Dak clearly like the best play, only 25%, and then kind of down from there.
I don't think it changes too much from here. I mean, I think you've got such a close range of prices, and the most interesting part is I think some of these cheaper quarterbacks, Jordan Love especially, like the Lions have struggled against the pass a little bit, and so you've got this mix of pricing relatively similar versus matchups for some of these cheaper quarterbacks. So I think obviously Dak is going to be up there and Purdy will be up there. 25% compared to 10 is significant, but I don't think anyone runs away with like a 35-40% ownership.
Should they
though? I don't think so. I think there's reasons to play anybody on this slate. Look at the pricing. I don't know. To me, you can make an argument for literally any 6 of these quarterbacks on the list, and I've certainly got reasons to play all 6. So no, I wouldn't go heavy on anyone necessarily.
How about you, Burns? I know you're very big into, and the Shark Lab is always big into favored QBs, right? Mm-hmm. Doing better. I'm noticing that the salary discrepancy between worst to best is not like what we normally see on a main slate, right? They're really close together. I think DraftKings kind of did it on purpose. DraftKings lightens up on the salary algo for Thanksgiving each year because it's a quote unquote casual slate, and therefore a lot of quote unquote casuals playing it. They don't like the difficulty of making a matchup. I believe they do this on purpose.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
Yeah, I think I've noticed it every single year, and this happens in the playoffs as well. DraftKings makes it a little easier to make a line. FanDuel doesn't. They have no mercy. They're just they have no mercy. They're like, it's impossible to make a lineup. You have to use a 5K turd. But on DraftKings, they've done this. So how does the Shark Lab feel about the concept of the QB position in general? Like, do I really have to play, Geno Smith against the 49ers?
I haven't back tested yet, but to be honest with you, I think you have to include every single one of these quarterbacks in your player pool, because of the fact that any one of these guys can go off. I mean, it's a 3-game slate. It's not like we're dealing with 10 games. I mean, I just did, like I was telling you before the show started, I ran it raw with the domination station raw with not much in there other than like some minor settings, 3 against the defense, etc. And it's given me a lot of Geno. So I think we have to have these guys all included because of that. Any one guy can go off. I mean, San Francisco can have they can have a screw up in the secondary. Geno throws it to DK Metcalf for a touchdown. And if you didn't have either one of those guys, you're probably not going to win. It's just that kind of a slate. The Thanksgiving slates are always that way. So,
yeah, I mean, it's tricky, right? It's tricky because 3-game slate, you never quite know. The Dom Station has been fire with its like preferred QB almost every single week. Like, to doubt that has been a mistake all season long. Last week, you literally got 100% Lawrence to Ridley if you didn't force it to do something else, which I so many people absolutely smashed last week. Reminder, Millie Maker winner. I mean, it's like, most played put 5 lineups better than the Millie Maker winner score. So many of these screenshots with 1, 2, 3, 4 different DFS Army people, all because the optimizer, or aside from other reasons, but a big one was just the optimizer spit and fire once again on the projection model. But I don't know. It's hard to doubt the Geno Smith thing, except for it's San Francisco, and Geno is not like somebody who normally plays well against a good defense. So that's concerning.
Yeah, but San Francisco is going to shut down the run. Ken Walker, not in this one probably. Charbonnet, he's a pass catching running back, but they're not going to do anything on the ground. It's going to be all through the air. So you got to take everything into consideration here, I guess. That's kind of just what I think you can take from that. Why the domination station's pushing Geno in there? It's because it understands that San Francisco can be beat through the air, but not so much on the ground.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that Geno. So my reading of Geno's health situation is that it's fine. It was not an elbow. They say it was a tricep or something. So I don't know. They're all kind of in the same part of your arm, but they're saying it's a tricep and saying he should be fine. So I'm assuming everybody's going to play, and they'll all be fine. And by the way, it might be possible that the reason it's defaulting to Geno is just like because some of the other position groups saving that 1,000 adds enough fantasy totals to your fantasy points to your total that it's not differentiating like the 17 to 20 on the mean projection as much, which I get, as it would be for like going from some bad RB to a better one, or some mediocre RB. Like the difference between Charbonnet, here you go. I'll tell you why it would do that. Just look at the difference between like a Charbonnet at 5,300, 11, AJ Dillon, 11 points, and Pollard 17. So you're adding for that 1,000 or 1,200, you're adding like 5 fantasy point projected. So it's going to want to go to those cheaper QBs just to get some of these more expensive running backs that seem in a much better spot.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to the QB position, guys, BobbyWow, how are you building your strategy in terms of stacks? Are we looking to double, triple? Are you, if you had to build a single entry, who is your guy? Or give me your 2 guys that you're putting in for single entry. Are you more inclined to sort of pay down and hope for the best, little fingers crossed action, or just take like Dak and Purdy because they look like the best 2?
Yeah, I think Dak's the top guy for me. If I'm building around Dak. Easy to stack him with CeeDee Lamb, and then your choice of Gallup or Cooks. Cooks has been good, so I love that he's easy to stack. I love the matchup. Washington has been absolutely atrocious against passing game, so he's my clear number one. I Purdy would not be my clear number two, but again, I don't know that I have like a super number two that I love more than anyone else. So I think it's Dak for me, and then the rest of the group if I'm building a single entry lineup.
And obviously stacking him with CD Lamb.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stacking with two. I'm probably stacking all of these guys with two, maybe with the exception of Jordan Love, who could run one in. To me, it's these plus two for all of them.
I am not going to do that as my optimizer run.
You're not going to force it. Sure.
I'm not going to force it. No. If I'm handcrafting, I'm doing that. Yes.
Even with Dak, you're not going to force it?
Yeah, I'm not going to force it. One thing that I did learn, and I'm not going to disallow it, but I'm not going to force it. But one of the things I learned in my back testing for these 3-game slates is you effectively have to hit the nuts. Like it's not like last week or a main slate where you can get away with sort of a close to the nuts kind of lineup that isn't perfect. You might, it won't be, it's not 100% that somebody will hit the perfect score, but even the constraint of 2 from the same, like if you force it, I will use the boost to boost the chances of it happening where you have doubles. But I do see scenarios where you don't absolutely need Dak. Like I'll just picture it. We'll use Dak as the specific example. Yeah. I mean, Ferguson has a good game and Lamb has a good game, but random other tight end has a better game, right? Cooks doesn't do anything. Like, Pollard catches a touchdown via the pass, and all of a sudden Dak is the nuts guy. But there's no second wide receiver / tight end that was the nuts because these other games happened and other people just slightly outscored them. So it does limit you a little bit when you force the doubles on a 3-game slate. I think you need to hit the perfect lineup. I don't mind the doubles. I'm going to boost it. But I've already started messing with this, and to me, you don't absolutely need to force a double. And in the Kanger said it in the chat, that can run one in.
He could, yeah. He has done it. Yeah. So he's done it this season.
Yeah, he could do it. There's other little ways. Same thing with Purdy. Like I like Purdy. I usually like him in doubles, but I don't. There are scenarios where that double maybe should be Christian McCaffrey. How about you, Burns? How do you feel about the general approach of forcing doubles versus not on a 3-game?
Yeah, I don't think you have to force it. If you're going to try to force it, then just go game stacks, right? Game stack each one of these types of environments that you feel are going to go off. If you feel Dallas is going to go off for, the most amount of fantasy points, Dak with Cooks, Ferguson and CD Lamb, run it back with, maybe Logan Thomas or Brian Robinson, something along those lines would be a favorable game stack. And then, I'm talking about hand builds here, and then, have a defense from one of the other games. That could be a viable strategy if that's the way you feel like these builds could actually work. So
I think one of the things to think about on a 3-game slate, especially if you're trying to win the Millie Maker, there's of course 2 styles of contest that we're going to be attacking, right? We're attacking your normal size contest, 1,000, 500, 250 people in it, right? That really is one approach. If I'm going after the big contest, one of the challenges is like, all right, here's a contest with 50,000, 100,000 entries. And, we're hitting all these chalk guys. It's really hard to win by doing something expected. You kind of have to get a little weird with it. And Burns, what you just said is, how about you can overstack a game, get crazy. Yep. Less people will do that. You won't see Dak with 3 very often.
Right.
You see, with 2, sure. It's the third that makes it different and actually good. The other way to go is just getting different, like just anything chalky, just get away from it. So as much as we all kind of think Dak is the best play and CD Lamb's probably the best wide receiver, what if you didn't play those 2? Do a different one. You'll be unique. You'll be different. Or another interesting way to get weird would be both of the Detroit running backs in the same lineup. Really great matchup for both of them.
Yeah. It is. It's a very good matchup for both of them. It's a good matchup for a couple of running backs on the slate. CMC's got a really good matchup too. I could see Pollard getting it done this week as well. These are kind of really good plays that you have to just allow your optimizer, domination station, or other to just allow it to work.
Yeah. In the chat, they're mentioning and somebody's asking about the best sub 3K guy. I think it's the tight end Kraft from the Packers right now. That looks like the standout cheapie on the slate.
Is it Kraft that's going to be the tight end, or is it DeGuria or whatever his name is?
Kraft seemed to have gotten
more run.
Yeah, I think he had a reception or two.
Okay.
Last week. Yeah, he got 2 targets last week. Nothing great, but he got a couple targets last week. Josiah, aka Bob.
Josiah's been doing nothing.
He's been doing nothing. Much. He did nothing last week. It's just, he's questionable. It's Kraft. It's Kraft. It's going to be Kraft. So that's an interesting one, but we'll get to the tight end position. So let's continue on talking through some of the rest of these games. So BobbyWow, Jared Goff has the 2 running backs that are super likely to vulture his fantasy production. How are we treating this in terms of any kind of rule? I think Goff with the running backs is going to be very low owned, but I think it's rightfully so. I don't think it's good to play him especially with Montgomery. How do you treat this one?
Yeah, I'm with you too. I'm not going to play Goff with any Montgomery. I think Montgomery's the ground and pound guy. And like you mentioned earlier, I think both running backs could score. There's no doubt about that. These guys tore up the Packers earlier this season when they played. And so that's certainly a possibility. To me, though, they're too expensive to play together. I mean, they're both in that 6K range. Gibbs is almost 7K. That is really prohibitive when it comes to pricing. So I suppose as a silly for the millie, you could play both in the same lineup without Goff. But yeah, I agree with you. Goff with Gibbs would be as far as I would go QB running backs combinations in this game.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I want to get really weird with my combos this week. I think you got to get a little weird with it. I also think, again, and Burns, I'm bringing back to you. I like the favorites. I like the favorites at home.
Yeah, I do too. One thing to note about that Green Bay Detroit game is that Green Bay is actually really good against the pass. So doubling up the running backs here could be a viable strategy because of the fact that Green Bay does have a really good passing attack on defense. They could actually take Goff completely out of this game. So keep that in mind. Maybe it's a short passing situations with Amon-Ra and the 2 running backs. Potentially, maybe you could do something really weird with your lineups. And something really weird could be Amon-Ra with the 2 running backs and run it back with maybe a Jaden Reed in this one, or even just have Laporta, and that's your mainstay 4 in the lineup without Goff. Maybe it works this week.
Got to get a little weird.
It's so expensive too that it definitely won't be popular having both Gibbs and Monty, but it's viable for sure.
There's other viable approaches as well. We'll talk about the running back position here in a second. Jordan Love, very, I guess it's not a bad matchup because at least Detroit, it's in a dome.
Yeah, I look, Jordan Love, you know how I feel about Jordan Love. I don't think he's special. I don't think he's the guy, but the Packers want to know. They want to know if he is somebody that they want to, continue investing in. I know they signed him to a longer contract, but that to me doesn't matter. They want to figure out who Jordan Love is this season. And we've seen it the last couple of games. He's thrown 40 passes. He's been throwing late in games in crunch time. And he looked pretty good last week. So to me, I think Jordan Love is going to be throwing. We should see 35, 40 plus passing attempts. Certainly wouldn't surprise me in this game. He's the cheapest QB on the slate. And, again, he's a guy that could run the football on too. He's been using his legs a little bit more. I think he scored a rushing touchdown last week or the week before. So don't X out Jordan Love in the player pool. I think he's certainly viable.
I think he's the team that's least likely to be able to rely on the running back to get it done in this entire slate.
Yeah,
throw Seattle in there, but there's no relying on AJ Dillon against the Lions. The Lions are really good against running back. So I think Jordan Love, if any, do I love Jordan Love? No, but he's really stackable, right? It's cheap. It's low cost stacks. Now we got Kraft in there as well. So who are, and I'll throw it to you guys. If we're playing Love, Kraft will be interesting, but it's not a must. But are you double stacking him? Who are two of those wide receivers, or does it matter between Reed and we good call on Reed last week, guys, by the way. It was one of you two. Can't remember which one. Bobby probably never takes credit and Burns never does, but it was one of you guys talking to Jaden Reed all last week and he smashed. But between Christian Watson, Reed, and Dobbs, all inexpensive pass catchers that are very stackable in good matchups, help you afford things.
Yeah, it looked like Watson, he got a touchdown last week. He really, outside of that, he got 4 targets, 2 receptions, 20 yards. It was Reed all day against that porous secondary of the Chargers. 6 targets, 4 catches, 46 yards. No touchdowns through the air, but he got 1 on the ground, and he got 3 rushing attempts with 46 yards. So that showcases that maybe Jaden Reed is the guy that could be the actual playmaker for Green Bay. It may not be Dillon. It may be actually Jaden Reed who could do the runs. Flank him out, come back. He gets the swing pass and he takes it for 20, 30 yards at a clip. I don't know. And then let's see what Dobbs did. I don't think he did anything.
Yeah, he got a couple targets. It's not like Dobbs didn't do
He actually did decent.
Yeah. They all got targets.
He was 5 for 6, 53 through the air and a touchdown. So each one of these guys actually did something. So that was a positive for that game then. But
I'm doing a Thanksgiving draft, on Sirius XM tonight at 8:20, by the way. Be there if you want to, doing a live stream of it with some of the hosts of some of those shows. And Jaden Reed is one of my sneaky, gonna take him in the second to last round or towards the end when everybody forgets about those kind of players. And that's how you win those. It's one of those weird little drafts, and that's how you win them. I've won them with guys like Cole Beasley, and it's always that random kind of last pick that gets a 15 for you that gets you the W. So I'll be looking at Reed late in that one. Hopefully no one who's in that draft is watching this. That'll be helpful. But
let me guess, says it in that with you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let me throw this over to you guys. A favorite and why of the favorites and a favorite and why of the cheapies, if you're forced to choose, and then we'll move on to running back. So I'll start with you, Bobby. You got Goff, Purdy, Dak. Each one has their own positive, including lower ownership for some, whatever your reasoning is. Favorite from that trio, and who are you kind of hanging your hat on? And then on the bottom group, Howell, Geno, Love, your favorite from that group and why?
Yeah, I think to me, Dak is my favorite. The guy's been a beast. He looks good. The Cowboys, they're going to want to beat the pulp out of Washington. They're not a team that typically slows up when they get a big lead. And so they're a team that would be okay winning 50-0 if they have to.
Or they have been this year.
Yeah. They have been this year. So I like Dak. I think, his fantasy ceiling is higher than anyone's on this list. And he's got the receivers to do it. So give me Dak. I think as far as cheapies go or non-favorites, I like Jordan Love the most, not just because he's lowest price, but because we've seen him throw the ball more as of late, thrown 40 pass attempts the last couple games. It's a couple touchdown passes in each one. And he's got some intriguing cheap stack pieces. We already talked about it. Dobbs, Watson, Reed, all 3 of them are in play. And so, yeah, I'm going all the way up or all the way down in terms of my 2 favorite QBs.
Burns.
I'll say I'll go a little different than Bobby. I do like Bobby's take on both of those, and I'm actually in agreement with him as being that Dak is probably the best quarterback on the entire slate. But I'll go a little different. Brock Purdy, I would say, is probably going to be the number 2 quarterback behind, if we're just sticking to favorites, behind Dak in this one. The reason why is Seattle is just not a great defense against the pass. They're actually a better defense against the run. But, with CMC, you don't really have to worry about that. But I could see CMC with Purdy as well as Kittle doing some serious damage in this game. They went to Ayuk last game on Sunday quite a bit, and I could see Ayuk and Kittle as well doing some more damage here. But Purdy, CMC, Kittle, give it to me. And then the guy on the opposite side of the ball would be my favorable guy as an underdog in this week, in that because of the fact that San Francisco has actually been, they've been beatable through the air. So they're not beatable on the ground, but they're beatable through the air. Give me Geno, give me DK, Jackson, and Lockett. Forget about the tight ends in this one for Seattle, and Charbonnet might be able to get you 5 to 10 points and call it a day right there. So
yeah, I think those are both reasonable calls, matchup based calls. The Geno thing, I like that he's at home. I don't like he's up against San Francisco. I don't think he's gonna have a good game, but like I like that he's at home. And if he was on the road at San Francisco, I think they shut him down. But also San Francisco knows Seattle knows how to play San Francisco. They play all the time. So a lot of times what you see in these divisional matchups is like the normal DVP type stats don't really hold as well as it would against a non-divisional opponent. Like, you just see this all the time where like Denver plays Kansas City really well. And like, how the fuck is Denver beating KC or having these close games again, even last year? And it's like, I don't know, something about divisional matchups. They're just different. They're just different. So you kind of like, all right, that has that like divisional matchup difference. Now you might be saying the same about Washington, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of hopes.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Can I 30 seconds on this one? If I'm not going Love, I think Howell's my third choice on the slate. That is the one ownership where I see that dipping into single digits. I cannot imagine Howell reaches 10% ownership on the slate, which is really intriguing to me. He's been throwing the ball 45 to 50 times a game. We're talking about a guy that's throwing 50 passes. I wouldn't be surprised if he threw 50 plus against the Cowboys. He's probably going to have to do that to keep pace. And so, Howell is a guy that's done it before. Geno has yet to have 3 touchdowns in a game this season. I think Howell's done it several times. He's got 4 in a game. He's got a really intriguing receiving core. He's got Logan Thomas as a tight end who's looked really good. So my third favorite QB is Sam Howell for tournament purposes, ownership-wise. He's done it before, and he's chucking the football up, man. That's somebody that I want to target as far as like a tournament takedown lineup for Thanksgiving. So I'm a little bit intrigued. I'll be honest.
I like it. Who are you stacking him with though? It's McLaurin, it's Dotson, it's the tight end Logan Thomas, always hurt.
Curtis Samuel, I think Curtis Samuel's in play big time this week.
Yeah, Curtis.
By the way, even Brian Robinson Jr. is a pass catcher at this point, assuming that Antonio Gibson is out. By the way, let me. Last week we had Robinson Jr. as a core play, and I just want to show you what he did and why sometimes a player is core. With no touchdown, still got you to 9 targets. They're throwing the shit out of the ball to Brian Robinson Jr. 9 targets? Like, did we know that this kid is a pass-catching running back? What doesn't he do?
God, it would have been great if Gibson was in last week and it lowered his ownership, because that would have been that much better of a play last week, because people would have been like, oh, it's a split backfield. But since Gibson's out.
I don't think I would have played him that heavy if Gibson was playing. But
he was core for me no matter what. I just knew like him coming off of that week before 2 weeks ago. And, I was heavy on him that week. And then coming into it, the Giants are just a putrid team in general. Even though Washington lost, I can't believe that. There goes Marvin Harrison for the Giants. But,
they need the QB.
They need a lot.
They
I wish.
Come on over, Marvin.
Brian Robinson, I think he could be the best. He could be the top 2 running back on the slate this week. I think CMC is the top guy. CMC on any slate that he is on is typically the top guy, and we're getting him under $9,000 in salary this week. You can pair him with Brian Robinson very easily in this week of Turkey Day. So you don't be afraid of CMC this week. I like both of the Detroit guys. I think you got to have Pollard this week as well. He blew up last year on Turkey Day. It's generally been like a big running back day for Dallas. Zeke jumping into the Salvation Army pot multiple times in the past. I could see Pollard just lighting it up this week where he hasn't done it. I mean, he didn't really light it up last week by any stretch. You didn't need him last week.
Even in the greatest running back matchup of the year.
Yeah, he just didn't do it.
They're not feeding him. He never does it.
So they're not feeding him like you would hope they would. But I don't know. Maybe it's a different, it's a short week. And, those 12 attempts, maybe they feed him a little bit more. I don't know.
That's a good prompt, Burns, to transition over to discuss the running back group for this slate. And I'm going to give you the macro that I again discovered in my back testing for these style of slates, which is the macro is don't allow yourself to get overexposed generally to any one of these. Like the chalkier they are, the more benefit you will get from fading them if they fail. The shorter the slate, like these chalk pieces some of them will fail. And when I say back testing, what I observed and it, listen, I don't know the math behind why this happened, but what I observed was if you ran the optimizer in a back test mode and you already know that Christian McCaffrey was the best running back and he was in the nuts, and you raise up your exposure to 100%. The benefit I got from that style of move was less good than if I had been at 60% on some wide receiver that failed, just lowering him down to 40 or 35. Like the benefits from fading chalk outweigh significantly the benefits from just over owning chalk and just going all in on it. Now, I don't know what the math is behind why that was the case, but I tried it a lot of different ways, and it was pretty consistent that was the preferable approach. So like actually going below field on chalk plays, regardless of how good the setup was, netted a better outcome than going super heavy on chalk play and being right about most of them, but maybe off on one. So I'm not sure why that happens, but fading some of that chalk can be helpful. And it does look like
you don't necessarily want to fade the chalk on running back, though.
No, but
because of the volume.
Wide receiver was definitely more beneficial, but like just look 2 days ago, AJ Brown on that showdown slate, the greatest setup ever for AJ Brown, a complete fail.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened on the weekend, right? Singletary was literally almost 44% ownership in the Millie Maker, and he was in the winning Millie lineup. So
I thought I was going over on Singletary at 45%, and then it turned out like that was the ownership of him.
Yeah.
Didn't help. It again did not help you. It didn't help you to go, but if he fails and you had fully faded him, that would have really helped you. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes the chalk hits, sometimes doesn't. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to hit on this slate.
Agreed.
He's going to hit. We're not going to get a dud. I don't expect a dud from Christian McCaffrey, but I'm also looking up and seeing that he's not owned that different from Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard could fail spectacularly.
Indeed, he can. Charbonnet's ownership is crazy to me, over 30%. I get it. He's low in salary, but he's not much different than like, Brian Robinson at 5,900. You're looking at $600 difference. I mean, that's really on a slate with 3 games. Those guys are in the same salary range. Now, if it's the main slate, that's different because you probably have multiple running backs in between. but really you only have one running back in between those two guys, and it's AJ Dillon. So why is Zach Charbonnet? I get it. He's the lone back for Seattle, but he hasn't done anything, right? He's really just been that guy behind Ken Walker, and Ken Walker goes out and he gets 10 DraftKings points last week. That's really all he did. But do I want him or do I want Brian Robinson? I get it. The matchup against Dallas is really tough. It's a tough matchup, but so is in San Francisco.
They're all tough matchups for these. So all you're looking for
ownership though is crazy.
Yeah, they're all tough matches. Like, yeah, the Charbonnet matchup. BobbyWow. I mean, looking at these running backs, yeah, Charbonnet's way up there in ownership. And I don't know, he's the cheapest guy. I like that. He catches a pass, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's volume. It comes down to volume and price for me. So I can understand it for sure. Pass catcher, I don't hate it. I mean, I think the way the DS sees running backs, though, I'm in full agreement with McCaffrey. McCaffrey to me is a flag plant. There's no way around it. Like he's just a stud. You look at his pricing with some of the wide receivers in the same range. I mean, yeah, CeeDee Lamb absolutely could get there. He's priced basically the same as Amon-Ra. I think, Christian McCaffrey's floor and ceiling is higher than Amon-Ra's. So I don't know. I think, he's the pay up, and I don't mind getting a mix of these guys down here. I think you're right. Tony Pollard is the most likely to fail of the higher priced running backs. And so, yeah, I'll have a lot where I pay up for McCaffrey and then I try and pay down a little bit for a guy like Brian Robinson or even Charbonnet. I don't mind that.
I want to kind of, let's continue on the running back, and then I want to talk about the baskets of salary, because that's really an important way to look at these type of slates. People are going to ask, should I play a tight end in the flex? And yes, the answer is yes. You're going to play a tight end and you're going to play wide receiver, because we're no longer looking at the slate in terms of position groups and who goes where. For me, it's just basket of salary. You're going to need a $3,200 guy. Who's the best of them, right? We can look at the wide receivers that are there. We can look at the tight ends. Who's better out of that group? Same thing at the pre-up. Like, to say a flag plan on Christian McCaffrey, let me back that up and say, do I think that Christian McCaffrey is definitely going to outscore CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra?
Amon-Ra, yes, I think so. CeeDee Lamb, I think.
No, I would definitely not say definitely to that. No, he could.
I think it's likely that he does.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that. To me, I think they all can score 25 pretty comfortably. Which one is going to pop and have a ceiling game? I don't know. The one thing I could say, though, is I think it's more likely that we find a 5K or a 4K wide receiver that pops for 20 compared to a 5 or 4K running back that pops for 20. So there's these two dynamics at work here. Like, what are the chances we find a running back under 5K that pops for 20 fantasy points? I'd say like less than 5%.
Yeah, I don't think we'll find that, but you might find a guy that gets you 10 points. I don't know. I mean, it's that what the hell's that guy's name? That's behind Charbonnet is DJ Dallas. I mean, that guy in the past has gotten run in situations like this where the lead back is out and then you got the backups in there, and so I don't know if we can trust Pete Carroll enough with Charbonnet to say, yo, man, you're my 30% guy at 5,300. There's paths for Charbonnet to fail. So
too close to the other salaried running backs. So continue on. Let's just kind of focus in again and just kind of keep our eyes peeled on this running back position. Aaron Jones should be out. He's still showing is like might play, but I do not expect Aaron Jones to play until he gets the full out tag. We don't zero out that projection, but he's doubtful. And I think you can comfortably unfriend Aaron Jones. If you're using the optimizer to make lineups right now, just unfriend him. But I think I like Gibbs and Montgomery above Tony Pollard. Like, if let's order them, guys. Let's just put them in your order. I don't really know that this is even beneficial because for the most part, they're priced salaried really differently. But yeah, Walker probably out, Jones probably out. So for me, my order, I like McCaffrey, but from there, Gibbs, Montgomery, Pollard, and then I'm thinking Robinson Jr., Charbonnet with Dylan at the back end, but Dylan is playable too. Like, you got to have some Dylan in there. It's no one else. He's got the sole role. BobbyWow. Dylan ruined us early this year, but you know what? A couple things about him is he hasn't been as terrible as the backup. He's had a couple of good plays. Hang on.
He's been pretty bad.
He's got a Q tag too. I mean, no, 14 carries, 29. Yeah, 10 points last week. That's what I'm saying. Like, still stinks, but
I mean, look at those weeks. Like, 5, 6, 7. I think he was by himself. 15 carries, 61 yards.
He literally got worse
game against the Vegas, but even that was 13 points. Like AJ Dillon, to me, we're going to see Jaden Reed that in the Cordero Patterson type role, vulturing any potential usage for Dillon. So I am out on AJ Dillon.
Yep.
Injury report: chest injury, rookie chest pain. I'm just trying to see if there's any.
He'll be a go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you this real quick, Dave, and then I want to talk a little bit about some of the other thing. But for the optimizer, what I discovered was three uniques, 40% max, 3 versus defense in the back testing is an appropriate way to attack a slate like this. So I don't want to get too chalky on anybody, unless BobbyWow tells me to lock the button down on Christian McCaffrey, and then I'm going to do that.
I'm not saying lock. No,
I will do it if you say it.
How much randomization are you guys running this weekend?
I always run 20, 25% no matter
20,
what.
25? Yeah. That's what I was figuring.
Yeah. I always run it only on the last run.
Any global max?
It's 40%.
Well, I'm talking about total projected ownership.
No. I think 280 was the number that I discovered last year. That was a comfortable number.
Got it.
So 280% ownership. People are like, that seems high, but it's a 3-game slate, guys. The fewer players, the chalkiness goes up a little bit. So that's how I'd be running the optimizer, and then I got to see from there. But you do not want to. And again, in the 3-game, it's going to be, somebody mentioned in the chat here, Mac Jones. Like, there was a year where it was Mac Jones on a 3-game slate.
I think Sam Howell plays the Mac Jones.
It was last year, wasn't it? Against Minnesota?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah. So keep in mind that the way to win it is probably not playing Dak to Lamb with 70,000 other people out of 200,000 or out of 300,000. That's, the way I look at it, when you think about chalk, and we'll move on to wide receiver in a second. The way I think about chalk is this. I always bring it back to my March Madness example, where if you're in a March Madness pool with 100,000 people, do you really think you're good enough to pick like 40% owned Duke to win the whole thing and get the rest of your lineup right to beat those other 50,000 people? You're probably not that good. So you've got a much better chance by taking like the 4th highest or 5th highest owned, like the 4% owned, March Madness winner. And if you happen to be right, hey, at least now I only have to beat like a much smaller number of people in this tournament. Like Dak to Lamb, I get it, but like everybody's playing that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be special. Effectively, you'll be watching the game. Dak will throw a touchdown to Lamb, and the dollar amount that you're winning will not change on the screen. And you're going to be like, hey, what the fuck? That's my guy. I just threw for a touchdown, and I didn't even go up. And that's how that works.
Yep.
Like, when your amount winning goes up, when you played when you went nuts and played Sam Howell and no one else did, and he throws a touchdown to Jahan Dotson, which is only a 2% owned stack, and no one has it, and you're like, holy shit, I just went from losing money to plus $10,000. Like, that's how that changes. That's how you gotta have that weird low owned stack. We'll talk about weird low owned stack in a minute here. But any further thoughts from you guys on this running back position? I think we all love McCaffrey. I think he's great. It's weird that he's not as high owned. Like, I'd own him more than 50% generally, or I'd expect that. Tony Pollard, kind of a scary play, but YOLO, it's a good matchup. Gibbs and Montgomery, and then of course you have the 3 running backs from the underdog teams that all catch passes and have some pass catching upside. So of the bottom 3, BobbyWow, you'd say AJ Dillon the least good?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like him
Burns,
least.
same.
Yeah, for sure.
And of the top three, Pollard the top four, I'm going to call it Pollard the least good, or would it be Montgomery? Like, which one do you like the least out of the top four?
Jeez.
The top four being, you know what? I think Montgomery should be in a category with Robinson Jr. Maybe it's a top three of Gibbs, Pollard, and McCaffrey.
Yeah, agreed.
Probably Pollard would be the least likely for me.
It's funny because I agree, and yet Pollard has as good of a matchup.
I might say Gibbs. I think Gibbs is probably my least favorite of the three. But
yeah, some of the props for Gibbs don't look that great.
Gibbs is the most likely to get vultured. That's the other thing. I mean, both guys have plenty of success together, but Gibbs, if Gibbs doesn't get the touchdowns, that could be troublesome at 6,800.
And Dowdle, he's the full go, right? Or Dowdle, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Dowdle will be back, or I think he actually played last week. He wasn't even out, so he'll be in the game. Rico Dowdle is a playable name.
He has not practiced yet this week.
What's that?
Dowdle has not practiced.
Oh, if he hasn't practiced, is another story. Actually, I also heard that Patrick Taylor is going to be playing for the Packers now. What about Patrick Taylor as a weird super punt? Who's backing up AJ Dillon? It might be. Is it Taylor?
Yeah, only if Dillon's out, I'm interested. But again, Jaden Reed's going to get some of that run either way.
Mm-hmm.
You've said the name Jaden Reed so many times. I like going all in on Jaden Reed.
I mean, he actually had his breakout game last week, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. He's had a couple of those games. Yeah, he's a solid player. He's a great player.
Watch it be Christian Watson week or something.
It could be.
Yeah.
I think you need multiple pieces from the Packers, just like I think you need multiple pieces from Washington.
Yeah, you never know which of those guys. Even Jahan Dotson, you never know. He's been a horrible play, and
he's one of those Thanksgiving slate breakers. Yeah, absolutely.
In the dome, it's nice weather. You're on the carpet. Offenses happen better in the dome. Yeah. Flipping over. So let's kind of get into this wide receiver spot a little bit. We'll talk some one-offs on the stud zone. The least owned guy in the upper echelon here is going to be Brandon Ayuk, who absolutely tore it up last week. I think Ayuk is going to be super high owned with Brock Purdy, but not as a standalone, which makes him interesting for me as a standalone. I like that. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like him without Purdy because of that. Weird shit happens in a showdown. Like Goff is the best QB, but Amon-Ra underscores Ayuk, and Ayuk with Goff winds up. This is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to get weird, guys, because it gets weird in a single game in slates like this. I could see Goff, again, high scoring, random. I'm just saying a random name. Goff's probably not going to be the high scoring QB, but let's say he was, but it wasn't Amon-Ra. It turned out it was Ayuk and Gibbs and other people. Laporta goes off. Weird shit like that does happen. So with that being said, though, stud zone here, 7K, 8K guys, Ayuk, Lamb, and Brown. I think we're all in agreement that I think it's very obvious, actually, that Lamb is the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would agree.
Between Amon-Ra and Ayuk, any preference? Amon-Ra.
I think Amon-Ra is better.
Yeah, I think Amon-Ra.
But I mean, he's significantly more expensive.
Yeah. Amon-Ra is probably going to get 12 targets. Ayuk is probably looking more at 7. Efficiency will be king. Amon-Ra always gets tackled at the 1.
And the Devonta Smith.
Yeah. Some of these guys cannot get past the goal line. It's like a fucking wall of impossibility for them. Amon-Ra is one of those. And Montgomery gets that touchdown.
I just feel like if there was a game to disappoint score-wise and a team to disappoint, it's the 49ers. It's that last game, post-Thanksgiving dinner game. Offenses come out sluggish. Seattle trying to slow the game down. San Francisco pounding the football. I don't know. That just, for some reason, that narrative concerns me. I'm getting weird vibes. So, yeah, I like Amon-Ra.
You don't like my Thanksgiving safety monster parlay where I just plus 10 to every favorite and just went all the favorites win. You saying San Francisco?
I think San Francisco probably wins. That game, I could see that game going under more than the others.
I could see it. All right, so next layer down, in salary. Let me sort by salary here. So, got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett here in the 6Ks. Deebo Samuel, not really getting it done for the most part this season, but in play here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming down, McLaurin and Dotson. Dotson down priced a little more appropriately, I'm going to say, 4,600 to where he's been most of the year. I'd like to see that number come down even further. So in the mid zone here, number one, how interested are you in Metcalf and Lockett? They're the only, I mean, there's a gap here, right? It's if you're going to play the 6K guys, it's just those two Seattle guys.
Such an ugly zone. I don't like it.
Outside of like, I mean, I don't think I'll have a lot of Geno lineups personally. I think that's my least, not liking. I don't know. Maybe I will. I can't tell yet, but I definitely don't like stacking him that much. Metcalf getting lots of targets the last few games. Lockett getting targeted plenty, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yep.
McLaurin at 5,400, tough matchup. But
I'm
he's
surprised
also
I'm surprised you're fine with DK. I think Lockett is intriguing at 6K, but DK ownership, pricing, a lot of ugliness going on there for me. I'm surprised you're not all over that ugliness.
I just much rather play Ayuk. Like, you know, if you're giving me that. But DK has a couple of games recently where he had 12, 13 targets. And his red zone target rate is the highest in the NFL. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think over 30%. Like, if they're in the red zone, they throw to DK like 30, 35% of the time. I don't think they'll be in the red zone that often, but I don't want to allow my bias for like what might happen with the game to influence this too much. Because I do that maybe a little too much. I'm kind of thinking the game's going to go a certain way, but like maybe it won't. And even if I think that Washington is losing the game, or not Washington, that Seattle's losing this game, you know, again, Seattle's at home and they'll probably be more competitive than they would have been if they were in San Francisco. And they're throwing to DK 35% of the time in the red. That is a high number.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, that's why I'll allow it. But yeah, Lockett has kind of been a little better with Geno. You know what? Disaster, though. Drew Lock comes in. Geno gets hurt again. And then throw it all out the window. That dude was... I thought Geno was mediocre until I saw Drew Lock come in last week.
Drew Lock might be better than Geno.
Oh, it got worse. It was not.
Geno's been so bad. Oh,
I'll take Drew Lock over Zach Wilson.
Been Geno.
Yeah, but Lock is worse. By the way, Ash is in the stats. He doesn't even know that it's Thanksgiving or what that is. Ash is in the chat. He is like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Why is there football on Thursday? He's from UK. They don't know about Thanksgiving over there.
It's football on freaking Friday, too. What the heck, man? Anyway,
yeah, they don't know about it.
It's a crazy week.
You guys in UK, you know about Thanksgiving? You don't know about Thanksgiving. They don't know. Best holiday. All right, so coming down to the cheap zone, this is where we need to get in bed, you know, and live this week. I think Lamb is great. I think fucking Amon-Ra is great, and I think Ayuk is great. How are you going to get him in there? How are you going to get him in there? You got to play the cheapies. So let's talk about the cheap wide receiver zone and just take me through some of these names. It's hard to favor one over the other, to be quite clear. There are a couple of little things that have been going on, though, that I think are worth mentioning in terms of usage, especially when we get down to the really, really cheap zone, where I think we're going to find some gold nuggets. So stay tuned for that, because I got some nuggets. I got some gold nuggets, maybe. Not really gold nuggets, more like
Geeks
more
nuggets.
Like
we need a video or like a little bumper for the Geeks Nuggets section.
Yeah, like nuggets, but they're more like less turdly nuggets. It's like gold little turd balls, really. But
Jesus.
you know, because they're not great, but there's little angles here. So right up top here, Romeo Doubs, Watson, and Reed. 43, 42, and they're almost all the same price. I don't know what you guys
Geeks
are
Nuggets
laughing
just sounds sexual. It sounds so weird, man.
Geeks Nuggets. No one wants to see Geeks Nuggets. No one, and definitely not. Yeah, oh, Dingleberries. I actually do like that one. We do have some Dingleberries coming up. We do have a little bit of that.
Oh,
so, but take me through this top group. BobbyWow, any preference on the Packers guys beyond Reed? You just said Reed a million times. Actually, I go to you, Burns. I don't want to hear you talking about Reed again, BobbyWow. But Burns, any preference for this trio of wide receivers from the Packers?
Yeah, it's Reed, then Dobbs, then Watson for me. Just because of the volume that Reed and Dobbs are getting over Watson right now. That's my order for the Green Bay guys.
I like all three as well. So the other two names in this, the other three wide receivers in this sort of salary zone, you got Jahan Dotson, Brandon Cooks, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I think for the most part, those like Cooks is really a kind of a stack with Dak piece for the most part. He has one game with a target spike, but pretty much like 4 targets per game, every game, most of the season long. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 4,100. I like that. He hasn't had, he had a better game when one of the two big dogs was out, but I don't think that matters. Again, we're just looking for the best score amongst these kind of low-cost guys, so you don't really have to put up a 25. No, it's just like, can you outscore these other guys? BobbyWow, in a bucket, your salary bucket, right? Samuel up to Jahan Dotson, so 4,600 down to 3,600, $1,000 range. What's your number one guy? What's the first click you're making? Is it still Reed? It's okay if it is. I want to know the real.
Yeah, it probably is Reed.
It's Reed. So for you, your flag plant in this zone is going to be Jayden Reed, assuming he plays.
I want to be careful with the flag plant. Yes, I think Reed will probably be my highest owned wide receiver in this price range.
Of this group. That's all that matters. It's like, I don't know what you want. I don't say, everybody interprets things different. Like I say a core play. What does that really mean to me? It means like my first run through, I'm clicking that name first. And then, after 3 lineups where I click that name, I'm kind of like, meh, you know what? I got a lot of him. Let me click a different name. That's kind of what I mean when I say core play. Like he's my first go-to. Your flag play doesn't have to be I'm playing him in every lineup. Just like who's your first go-to? And so for you, it's Jayden Reed. Shark Lab, what about you?
If I had to go off of Jayden Reed, it'd probably be Curtis Samuel as my next guy up.
Okay.
But like, I want to be clear. I will have a ton of this price range. I'll have a ton of these guys. These guys are volume guys, low price guys that should see work. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, they should get several targets each. No doubt about it. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, they will get target with Sam Howell throwing the football 50 times. They are going to get volume. So this is a price range you will want to become familiar with.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'll get into, and I agree with you guys. I kind of, I have a sneaky suspicion about Jahan Dotson, but I've had that every week. Like when he does it well. I think though all of this 10% owned zone, you want to be above the field on them. Like I'd rather be a little below the field on the 40 and 50% guys, and I want to go above the field on the 10%. A lot of them are going to miss, but when you do hit with a 10, if you're 22% or 24% exposed, or 25% to a 10% guy, and that person then does something, that's where your amount winning starts to go up. It doesn't go up when you go heavy on chalk. It goes up when you go on a player like this that does it. So let's get into the Geeks Dingleberries segment of the wide receiver position show, because that's now a segment. So here's a couple of Dingleberries for you.
Jeez.
One, Jameson Williams over Josh Reynolds.
Yep. I'm in agreement on that.
I love it. Jameson Williams being somebody who's seeing more snaps the snap percentage is going up where Reynolds, it's been coming down. So or Reynolds just hasn't seen as many targets. I don't know if his snap percentage necessarily has come down, but he's just not as involved lately. Let's actually bring these two guys up here just so we can see. Josh Reynolds. Yeah, I mean, 2 targets last week. Nothing great, but look at
the field.
He's on the field a lot, but he's not doing much. I'll have some Josh Reynolds, but 2 targets, 4, 1, 3, 3. It's not been good. And then Williams, I feel like they just keep working him in. It's not translating as much, but you could see here bigger play potential when he does catch one. And just the increasing volume is something good for that. I like to see that momentum going into a game. I feel like momentum's on his side.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed. I think in that it only takes one mentality, or that narrative with these guys is important to pay attention to. For Jameson Williams, it really only takes one touchdown pass. He's in the nuts. That's not as true for a guy like Josh Reynolds.
Absolutely. And Poopsamy, ironically, is mentioning another Dingleberry that
he's a great Dingleberry. He's my favorite Dingleberry.
So tell me why. You break it down for me. I love that you noticed it.
Yeah. I think for me, it's a combination of price, right? He's basically min price, and he's a guy that's been targeted 5 times in the last 3 games, 5 times each game over the course of the last 3. Not to mention a touchdown against Philly. So another guy that can make plays, and if he's getting targets, I like that a lot. I'll take 5 targets at min price any day of the week.
I think we should have named it something more Thanksgiving-y than Dingleberries, like I don't know. What's that? What do you call the innards of a turkey? The giblets? Gizzards?
Giblets. I don't know.
Oh, somebody else took that one already. Apparently that's being used for something else.
Oh.
But yeah, the gizzards, or I don't know. No, we'll keep it Dingleberries. All right. Those 2 were the 2 that I was referring to, though. Anybody else in this section stand out for you guys? Jawan Jennings is on the field. Khalif, the Wiz, not doing a whole lot lately.
I feel like Jake Bobo has been a name you've mentioned, Geek. No interest this week in Bobo?
Bobo's a little better when somebody's out. But playable, on a single game slate. We crushed a Bobo play a couple of weeks ago when DK Metcalf was out. That was awesome, by the way. That was fucking awesome. But he's okay. He'll be on the field a little bit. That WR4 action. WR4 can get you there. It only takes one reception for a touchdown and a 12-point game from one of these guys to elevate themselves into the winning lineup. For the most part, this is where you're going to win the slate. Here's my end thought. This is where you're going to win the slate. You pick the Dingleberry, the right one. That's how you win it.
There you go.
I feel like it was Gallup last year. Did Gallup have a big Thanksgiving last year? And JSN, Irish Jeeves, mentioning that.
It was I thought it was Gabe Davis. It was Gabe Davis or Khalil Shakir or one of those guys. I feel like.
Can't remember now.
Wasn't it in the New England game?
Or was it Cole Beasley? It was some.
I thought it was Beasley won a Thanksgiving slate for me once. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Could have been 2 years ago. It all melts together like one day.
It was like a Kendrick Bourne or something with Mac.
It was
Jones.
Aguilar. Kangaroo always knows. It was Aguilar.
McKenzie. I was thinking Isaiah McKenzie. That's who it was for me. Oh, Isaiah freaking McKenzie, man.
Yeah, and there were 2 of them. And by the way, McKenzie and Aguilar were both Dingleberries. Yeah, 2 Dingleberries in your lineup last week. That's what I'm saying. Like a Dingleberry, it's close to 3K guys.
Gotta have them.
And again, note the difference. You can find a wide receiver at 3,200 that gets a 12 or a 14 or a 17. It's wildly unlikely that any running back in this sub 5K zone is going to be anywhere near that. They would have to have a shockingly good day where a wide receiver could just do it.
The only way they get there is an injury.
Yeah.
Injury to the starting running back, and then they get thrusted into the main role.
Remember our last primetime slate a couple of weeks ago where all of the running backs got hurt and it was just backup running backs galore? I I think it was like week 2 or 3, where it was a prime time, a 2-gamer, and just every running back just got hurt. Just two backup running backs in the same lineup. Weird shit happens in these things.
Those Dingles. Oh man.
Those Dingles. Yeah.
It's so good.
On that note, if you want Dingleberries on the regular, we're running the Black Friday specials going at DFS Army. Promo code BF 2023. Get all the Dingleberries.
Next year, you got to use the promo code Dingleberries.
That's going to be for the Thanksgiving slate. We only came up with
something better. We need like Geek's beans, or so we need a better dish. We need some sort of dish there.
Something nutty.
The chat will figure it out. Something nutty. Yeah, something saucy, nutty. I don't know.
On that note, we're going to talk tight end position here a little bit, but I'm curious in the chat, like, what do you guys look forward to on Thanksgiving food wise? What is at the Thanksgiving table that you like, that you really enjoy? And it could be your personal shit, like the stuff that your family does that no one else really does. I'm curious. I always like to. I love asking people about what they eat.
That or like the controversial. Like, what's your controversial Thanksgiving take? Like we talked about the sauce last week, but what is it? Like, what's your dish that everyone hates, or vice versa?
I hate pumpkin pie. Grosses me out. Pecan pie, also revolting.
Oh wow!
Really?
Are you any type of pie guy?
I like fruit-based pies, but not pumpkin.
What
I like give me an apple pie or a raspberry pie or even a peach, but I don't
I'm a
like
French silk pie guy myself.
You're what is that?
French silk pie.
Oh yeah, those are
I don't even know what that is. What the hell is French silk?
Get
a chocolate.
Please get a French silk pie, please.
I don't know what that is. Is that like where they just put whipped cream on it and smash it in your face? What is that?
It's like a chocolatey, like there's chocolate little curls on it. It's got whipped cream. It's got the most. Oh man, it's just please, just buy one anywhere.
French silk.
French.
What
silk.
about what about the pecan pie you don't like?
I don't like the nuts in there. I don't like it.
Okay.
I'm not
I
into
figured
it.
that was probably what it was. Because
I don't mind a pecan. Like I don't mind one
He's
to
not
eat
a big
it.
nut eating guy. He doesn't like eating nuts.
No, listen.
Yeah.
You know who
I
does like
it was
eating
the
nuts?
nutties, but you never know.
You know who does like eating nuts? Tyson Badgett. Teabag. Because his name is Teabag.
Oh, too good.
No. All right. Let's get back to this. We're talking tight ends. Teabag. His name is Teabag. No. All right. We're talking the tight end position, and I'm going to sort it by ownership again. Jake Ferguson, not surprising as the highest owned. Here's Sam Laporta, who has not done much recently, but we love Sam Laporta. George Kittle, high owned, 6K, went crazy last week.
Exploded.
Yeah, I like George. Logan Thomas, always a threat. And then Tucker Kraft. 2,500 Stoneman salary starting tight end for the Packers. I like that. So my first thought is, and forget Luke Musgrave. I assume he's not going to play.
He's out.
Yeah, he's out. So we're going to pull him out as well. But do I need to get deeper than this, or do I need to go beyond this 6-pack? Do I need backup tight ends in my approach this week? Do I need to find whatever garbage tight end from Seattle catches the touch? Like, is that important? Or can we just focus on these 5?
I don't think you have to get like too crazy outside of the top 5 guys.
Agreed.
I'm pretty confident that Brock Wright is going to win somebody $1 million tomorrow, but that's a whole side note. Brock Wright. Do you even play 1 or 2% of those?
Not Lukey Scoons.
Why? Why would I want him?
He caught a touchdown last week, Lukey Scoons.
So did and so did, by the way, Brock Wright last week. But do I need to play that guy like 2 weeks ago? Brock Wright got it. Do we need to play these super backup tight ends, BobbyWow? Like, are they in your mix? 2-3%?
I don't know. Like maybe if you're going double tight end and you want to get real cute with your value, I suppose you could. Because you're not going to get any cheaper than this, right? You play Tucker Craft and then you throw in like a Schoonmaker or Brock Wright. And
Yeah.
that's the best value you can get. That's where you can pay up the most elsewhere. That'd be the only scenario though where I would see it happening.
Got a Statsational fan in the crowd. John travels for Thanksgiving, like this time of year. It's really tough to get him onto a show. He's like running around because he's running to see family. He's really tough. Can't get him on. Really tough to get him on a show this week. Just with the travel, makes it challenging to do podcasting and content when you're on the planes and not in your home environment with your setups. Yeah, I like Tucker Craft at this 2,500 level. I think it makes your lineup really different. I love that situation, right? When you have a $2,500 player that you're willing to play in your lineup, it automatically makes it unique, especially if you double down at tight end. So, Burns, how do you feel about double TE? I already kind of said before, and I want to stress this myself. You have to do not worry about what that player is. It's tight ends and wide receivers in the flex, probably because you're probably playing someone there that costs between 2,500 and 4,500. Like you're going to play a cheap guy there. The lineup doesn't come together generally otherwise. But Shark Lab, how do you feel about like double tight end? Do you have any thoughts on it, or are you kind of in my boat where I'm like, don't even worry about what the position is? It's just looking for the 3K guy that scores the most points. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, I mean, we can only get there by, we'd almost have to zero out or have like 10-20% of running back in the flex. Yeah, obviously you have to have a lot of tight end in the flex in a 3-game slate. It's almost like, you can't not have them in a 3-game slate because a $2,500 guy just explodes, right? So double tight end this week, quad, wide receivers, definitely. I'm going to leave running back as 2 running backs per every lineup and run it like that.
I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to let it flow. We did find in the back testing that double tight end won 3-game slates, something in the 30% range. It was a very common combination in winning lineups. So it wasn't like an unusual thing to see that double tight end was the nuts. How do you feel about that spot, BobbyWow?
100%. I mentioned it earlier. This is where you could open up the most value. Double tight end opens up more value than potentially 4 wide receivers even. So yep, I like it.
Yeah, and discussing these tight ends, do you have a preference? It looks like the ownership is going to be really evenly spread between Ferguson, Laporta, Kittle, and Logan Thomas and Kraft. Like they should all be. I think they're all going to wind up 20 to 25. I don't know that we're going to see any chalk congeal. All of these are pretty good tight ends. That's a whole slate full of like acceptable tight ends. Everyone's
I like paying down. I kind of like letting the chalk fail potentially on George Kittle and even Sam Laporta. Like I like the idea of being below this top tier price range on a slate like this, so I can pay up for guys at running back and wide receiver. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it definitely feels that, or I would agree that the expensive running backs are good, the cheaper ones are sketch, and the so if you're spending up a tight end, you're kind of going to force yourself to play, the AJ Dillon and Zach Charbonnet combination that maybe isn't as exciting as you'd hope, or it takes away, a share of CeeDee Lamb or Ayuk that could have made a difference. I feel like Ayuk, again, a big difference maker potentially on the slate. No one, it's you're not going to click him. It's only going to be Purdy lineups, and so there are these. You can't do that with an expensive tight end. You're not going to be able to get there. It's just not going to be affordable. I like that approach. How about you, Burns? Anybody stand out in the Shark Lab at tight end? Bobby's talking a little philosophically about just like playing the cheaper ones, but does anybody stand out like matchup wise here? They're all kind of good.
Kittle this week is on the road, so I'm not in favor of him as much as like Laporta. Logan Thomas on the road, not in favor of him as much. Jake Ferguson, it would be, for me, it's Laporta and Jake Ferguson because they're both at home. They're favored. That's a big thing. in that our research has led to is that favored tight ends are in winning lineups more often than they're not, especially now where we're in the 12th week of the season. We know what they are. It's like quarterbacks. Favored quarterbacks are more often in winning Millie Maker lineups than not underdog quarterbacks at this point in time in the season. So load up those home guys this week. Load them up. And I'll touch on that on Friday too. Like when we get to the main slate, there are some guys that are home. We're seeing like 73% in winning Millie Maker lineups, top 20 Millie Maker lineups from home tight ends. So
yeah, and to Robert, yes, I would still lean running back in the flex on FanDuel. Always lean running back in the flex, although it's not as much of a must as it would typically be if you had more options. You don't want to limit yourself too much on FanDuel, but you're going to see that what you're going to see here is FanDuel is much more difficult to make lineups. It's just the salary that they set up is much more restrictive. You're going to have to play like these Jaden Reed type. You're going to have two of those in your lineup on FanDuel as well, where normally you don't have to do that on FanDuel. Normally you could just kind of play pretty good players. It's not going to set up like that on FanDuel this week. I think Tucker Kraft is just an exciting play. I'm going to be very interested in him at 2,500. I love the salary flexibility that gives me, and I don't. You're right. I don't have a good differentiation between any of the other guys. I think they're all fine. Laporte is fine. Ferguson is going to be super popular correctly, and so Logan Thomas is okay, and all of these guys are fine. Kittle, you're paying up. Kittle has done it week after week after week at his price level that he's at right now. But traditionally, when all of the pieces are healthy on San Francisco, Kittle does not have these smash games. So he's done it the last few weeks, I would say, against tradition, much more than what to be expected. So, if you wanted to get a little lighter on the 6K one, that's fine too. But you just better pick the right tight end this week that puts up a 20. I don't care how much he is. That guy's probably going to wind up somebody you needed to have. Real quick discussion of defenses, guys. The three underdog defenses are probably all going to get you close to zero. All three favorites look good, and any one of them could put up, double digits. How are we treating this? BobbyWow, what are we doing?
The only thing I could encourage is get a spread of defense. I think, at least for me, it's tempting to look at my lineups and say, oh my God, I got 3 of this team's players in there. There's no way I can have the opposing defense in there. There is a way. Okay. There are lots of scenarios where, the defense that you wouldn't think could be in the nuts ends up being in the nuts on a crazy slate like this. So I think you need a mix of all of them. I think my sneakiest play is Sam Howell as QB with the double stack and Cowboys as the run back defense. But again, I would just say get a mix of all of them.
Yeah. Always get a mix. Burns, does any of, is it worth paying up for Cowboys in this situation, or the 49ers, even the Lions, all 3 of them? Any one of those defenses has 15-point upside. You better catch the right one.
Yeah.
Or not.
I can remember last year's turkey slate, man. This is crazy. I called the Indianapolis Colts last year. I don't even know how I got on it. It was just there. You know why I was on them? They were the lowest. They were like the lowest salary defense going up against Kirk Cousins I think it was in Indianapolis. And I was like, well, they're home. That's a benefit to them. And they were the lowest owned. So if I had to look at any of these, the lowest owned one is Washington right now, them and the Packers. I could actually see the Packers going into Detroit, shutting down Jared Goff in the passing and leaving it just to the running backs. And they actually get a couple of interceptions in this game, and they're and the Green Bay Packers are the winning scoring defense of like 8 to 10 points. You're not getting another Indianapolis 30-pointer on this slate. But, you know, Dallas has the way, they could have the way to get to the highest amount of DraftKings points on the slate. And then San Francisco, they too have the ability to do it, but I don't like them as much as get Dallas because they're on the road. In Detroit, I mean, Detroit's a pretty formidable defense this year. But, you know, I'll take Green Bay as my defense that I think could upset some people's lineups where they go with Goff in the passing for Detroit.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think it's really up in the air. I remember the Colts call from last year, and I actually think they smashed. Like, it was like not even just a cheap defense that did okay. I think they got double digits, might have gotten 15 points.
They got it all in the first half.
What's that?
They got it all in the first half.
Yeah, all good. But that's the cool thing about a defense is just like one errant ball, one strip sack, fumble, return for, like, anything can happen in a game. I've seen the Jets in the peak Tom Brady era put up like a 20 defensively against the Patriots just because a couple of weird bounces happened in that one game. And all of a sudden, like, even in a losing effort, the defense scored some points. So it can go anyway. And there's benefit to paying down because you don't need to score as many points as the pay up defense because of other things that happen in that lineup.
I think it's worth noting too, on that note, like, we've seen defenses score 0 points or negative points even and end up in the optimal lineup on slates like this. So yeah, don't overthink too much. Like, this is probably the least analytical position of the slate.
One thing I'm going to let everybody know, a little secret, a DFS Army secret here, is there's a function here on the Domination Station Optimizer that allows you to adjust how many players versus defense. So you can change this, you know, to 3 or 4. Normally, our optimizer does not allow you to play players versus a defense. Like, that is a setting that is set to 0. And that's fine for the main slates, or sometimes I'll change it to 1. But on a short slate like this, just increase it. I found that 3 players versus defense is a perfectly acceptable number. If you don't want to go that crazy, you could allow 2 versus defense. And I think it gets you different from other optimizer tools, which might restrict that unless people purposefully change it. I don't know how anything else works, but this one, but I assume that because I don't see many people playing players versus defense. So I assume that whatever tools people are using don't generally allow that. So you can allow a couple pieces. This is much more important for 2-game slates than 3-game slates. But even on a 3-gamer, I think it's important to know, allowing 3 versus defense. So that's just a little trick. And yeah, I agree. Paying down is powerful. Paying down on any defense is a powerful tool. Mainly because even if they get a 5 or a 6, but you saved 1,000 over the 12, that 1,000 might buy you those fantasy points somewhere else. Not always, but sometimes. So there are different ways to build these things. Guys, last thoughts on the Thanksgiving Day slate for tomorrow. Burns, what do you say?
Just let the Domination Station do its job. Don't get too restricted.
Not everybody here is subscribed and using the Dom Station, Burns.
Those DFS Army members, let the Domination Station do its job. Don't get too restrictive on any one setting on the Domination Station. If you have an optimizer that you're using instead of the Domination Station, the same principles apply. Just don't get too restrictive.
Those people are the enemy. We don't care about them.
Gosh,
they are. Welcome. All right. What about you, BobbyWow?
I would just say, when in doubt, play a little light. You know, fill your belly with food, not necessarily fully with DFS. I think, you know, chances are you just want to enjoy the slate. So to me, I like using the Thanksgiving slate as an opportunity to get unique and different. If you want to be chalky, you know, play a single entry lineup, play cash and leave it at that. I like throwing a couple unique tournament winning lineups out there, not necessarily maxing something out, but just kind of sitting back and enjoying the slate that way. So, you know, don't go overweight on your playing just because there's a Thanksgiving slate. Enjoy it, have some fun with it, get a little different, and happy Thanksgiving, happy early Thanksgiving, everybody.
Here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to give different advice than you, BobbyWow. Thanksgiving is more fun when you have a lot of lineups going. Don't play light, play heavy. Make a lot of lineups.
Yeah, okay. In a lighter
enjoy the
contest,
games.
right? Don't max out the $20 contest.
No, let's not go crazy, but like enjoy the games. Enjoy the games with a rooting interest. I don't ever want somebody to go above the level of their comfort on any DFS slate. Fuck no, never do that.
You don't want to be eating grandma's lamb cake.
No, even if you're
cussing
playing
out CeeDee Lamb because he dropped the touchdown pass and lost you $5K.
Yeah, no, but
What
play
the fuck
the
is a
quarter
lamb
game.
cake?
There's a nickel game. There's quarter games on Fanduel and nickel games that you could play in. $7.50. You can max out a tournament on Fanduel and take first place. It does not matter what your budget is. There's 50-cent contests on DraftKings where you can use the domination station, run 150, have fun tinkering for the rest of today and tomorrow, enjoying that. And you're watching the games and you're like, oh shit, I'm in first place. And you show your mama, look, I'm in first place for 10 grand for a minute. She's like, is it going to hold? You're like, no.
But at least later, it's like 40th.
Yeah, it's not going to hold.
Always have that moment. No, that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, you're talking to your family. What I would say is talk football with your family. Don't talk politics. If you want to talk about what to do at Thanksgiving, do more DFS. Bet on the games. Monster parlay. 10 points for all the favorites. Plus
share this video. Show them the video a little bit. Show them some of the tools you use.
Yeah, they don't have to do that. No one cares at Thanksgiving. Uncle Fred doesn't want to see, us three talking about gambling stuff. But enjoy the holiday with your family. Don't talk politics with your family. Talk football. Talk DFS. Have fun. Drink Blue Moon. Get a 12-pack of Blue Moons. Have that. Slice an orange. Put in that shit. And hopefully, I wish everybody a fun day with your family. That's also important. And let's get into that. Like keeping it real. Enjoy your family. Don't get too crazy with the amount of action you have going on DFS that you cannot focus on the fact that it's the rare chance to get together with family. Again, the rare chance to sit and watch games start to finish all the way through, like the playoffs. And talk to your dad, your mom, your kids, your son, your daughter, whatever it is, while watching games, enjoying yourself and family. So I love this slate. Like I said, it's really fun. What I don't like to do, I will not be like, I'll be out at a family event for most of the day. I'll get back and maybe we'll look at, there's a primetime slate for Thursday night going into Friday. There's a 2-gamer. So I'm going to be back. We'll check that out as well. Maybe I'll even drop a quick breakdown depending on when we get back from Thanksgiving festivities for the DFS Army VIPs. Of course, I'll do that just, internally for any subscribers. If you're not subscribed, I already told you, Sleeper, you get a free month. You have no reason if you're not subscribed to DFS Army to say, hey, I'll put it behind the paywall. Yeah, you should be subscribed. I'll give you a free month for Sleeper sign up, promo code DFS Army. Email at support@dfsarmy.com. Get a free month. Check it out. Do the 50% off thing if you want to do it. Black Friday, promo code, BF 2023 gets you half off. All these links are in the description. So we want to check it out. There's a big slate coming up on Sunday. I'll be working. I haven't even started on my Sunday sheet yet because I'm so focused on this. So Thursday night, it's going to be just like, oh shit, there's a main slate on Sunday.
That's why you're going somewhere else for Thanksgiving. You got different kind of cooking going on, Geek. You don't have
Ash Larry has bangers and mash for Thanksgiving with some unflavored beans.
And he said he plays Risk with the fans. So
yes,
dude, that game takes forever.
A game of Risk, that's worse than talking politics. Everybody's getting angry.
That might be worse than Stratego. Did you guys ever play Stratego?
I don't even. I feel like I have. Is that the one where you flip it black to white? I do like that game. That is a few different. Othello, I thought it was called.
Maybe thinking something. I don't know.
But no, Risk is the worst. Risk is you're risking a family meltdown. Don't play Risk.
Yeah, that's a tough game, man. It's a lot of strategy.
Yes. And enjoy your Dingleberry sauce with your turkey.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Good luck, everybody. This was a long one. So
we'll be back Friday, too.
Burns. Right? I'm thankful for Burns and BobbyWow. That's what I'm thankful for.
And IU, Geek. And Burns.
No,
absolutely.
It's Burns and Bobby.
Wow.
I need a Burns.
You guys, always thankful for you guys.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, that'll do it for this one, guys. Good luck tomorrow. Enjoy the slate. Enjoy your family. Enjoy everything. Merry Christmas as well. Happy Thanksgiving. Did you know Pocahontas? She only lived to about 21 years old. Very famous.
I did
young
not
lady.
know that.
Yeah, she was dead by age 21, and yet we all know her name. Why do I mention her? Native American, helping. That's the Thanksgiving story a little bit. She only lived to 21. The fucking British got her like polio or something. Like the minute you can't be exposed to these monsters for more than a couple days, or you get one of their illnesses, and that was it. She probably got like the smallpox or something. She only lived to 21.
We're back Friday, right?
We will be back on Friday
Thank you, Brent.
for tournament tactics, as usual. So be back for that, and we'll see you guys next time. Sorry about the history.